Hi, welcome to Ask Atlas, where we answer questions about global expansion and employer of record services. Today we're going to answer questions about the most searched questions about employer of record, or what people like to call EOR for short. All right guys, let's get started with the questions. Question number 1, employer of record meaning. Well, when companies are looking to expand their businesses and looking to hire talent in foreign countries where they don't have legal entities, the best compliant way is to partner with an employer of record who acts as the legal employer on your behalf. What does that mean? Well, you don't have a legal entity and you want to be fully compliant in that particular country. You may think about hiring them as a contractor, but there's a lot of rules and regulations in doing business in those countries. So, an employer of record will keep you fully compliant because we would act as the legal employer on your behalf and responsible for all the back office from HR, employment contracts, payroll, and tax management. All right, question number 2, guys. Benefits of using an employer of record. Well, there are quite a few benefits. I'll name them for you. Speed to market, efficiencies, and the ability to invest without a lot of risk. One of those benefits are speed to market. If you're setting up your entity, that can take anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks to set up in any given country, or we can onboard an employee for you in a matter of days. Risk. All the setup of setting up an entity in a foreign country, you've got to hire lawyers, accountants, you've got to register in government officials, you've got to file taxes monthly, quarterly, or annually. Where with an employer of record, you don't have to do that. We manage all that risk because we're already established in a country for you. So for us, you're just onboarding and running what you do best, which is your business. Third is where you're looking at cost efficiency as well. The amount of money that you would have to invest into setting up an entity in a given country, share capital, legal, accounting. Remember, the employer of record, especially a direct employer of record, already has that established for you. So you will be able to use the benefits from that perspective to scale at your business more cost effectively and with speed to accuracy. And the last one for you is the fact that the employer of record is a large employer. We have Fortune 500 level benefits because we aggregate all the worksite employees that we have for all of our clients when we go to market for medical, dental, vision, pension programs, so that you can take all that benefit of attracting talent and retaining that talent by partnering with an employer of record. Hey, this is getting fun, guys. Let's get into question number 3. Employer of record tax implications. Now, there are always questions regarding PE exposure with using an employer of record. And we highly recommend speaking with your tax accountants in where you do business. But the employer of record does take that liability from you because you are not creating nexus. The employer of record is the established employer in that country. Employment contracts are signed by the employer of record. Taxes, payroll, taxes or pension plans are paid by the employer of record. So the employer of record can shield you from PE exposure and tax implications in doing business in that country. We do highly recommend that you do speak to your own tax accountants based on your own business because there are some rules in regards to manufacturing in a particular country or how your product is sold in that particular country that you may want to look into. But the type of rules that typically the employer of record does support, we take on that liability from your perspective and I'm happy to walk you through that when you look us up. Let's get into question number 4. Employer of record versus PEO. Now, this is my wheelhouse. Atlas was the first employer of record to coin the term employer of record when an industry was calling it global PEO. And the reason why we coined the term was the definition of PEO, which actually means professional employer organization, means that where 2 legal employers employ 1 employee in a given country. Now, in many countries, that is illegal because the government wants to know who is solely responsible for the employee. And if it comes to taxes, pension payments, or liability if something happened to the employee. So when I thought about the term global PEO or employer of record, it was obvious at that point. Employer of record is the party who takes full responsibility and is the sole employer in that country. Our clients are what we call the managing employer, meaning right of direction, day-to-day action, representation of a business. But when it comes to contracts, payroll, taxes, liabilities, The employer of record is the sole employer in a given country. And that's the difference between the definition of PEO and employer of record. All right, question number 5, and these are getting really good. It's really important to find out how people or what people are Googling about employer of record. So let's jump right in. Is employer of record legal? That is a phenomenal question. The answer is yes, but it always is a little bit more complicated than that. Every country has their own rules or regulations regarding employer of record, and if it doesn't, they tend to gear to more staffing regulations, giving the closeness to staff leasing regarding employer of record. The difference between staffing and employer of record is there's no temporary employment. An employer of record is always full-time employment, full-time benefits, and the employees are given all entitlements as a full-time employee. So there are differences, but to be clear, not every country has regulated it and tends to gear towards more of their staffing leasing rules and regulations. It's important that you work with an employer of record that understands the differences and how that they navigate compliance in those given countries. But employer of record is still very new around the world. And as it's being defined and put into legislation, it's important that you partner with an employer of record that keeps you up to date in how they're doing business in that particular country. It's also important when you partner with an employer of record, they understand within their contracts, they understand that they are responsible for their own actions in that given country. So for any reason, if the laws change or become more stricter in how employer of records can be used, for example, in Germany, it is important that you work with an employer of record who understands those rules and can explain that to you to stay fully compliant in the countries that they're doing business in. Now let's jump into question number 6. What industries use employer of record? Actually, the answer is all industries can use employer of record, depending on how they're looking to hire and retain talent around the world. We typically see tech and bio or anything that's hiring a sales or account management type of role, typically is the first employee that you're looking to hire in that particular country. But we're also starting to see large organizations who want to retain talent. We all know the term, the war on talent. And keeping and retaining talent has been a little bit of a struggle for many companies. Employees want to move. They don't want to work in offices. They want to work wherever they want to work. And so many companies have come to us and said, I don't want to establish an entity in a given country, but I want to retain this really important employee for us. How do I do that? Partnering with an employer of record allows that. And so industries, all companies of all sizes, from small to mid to enterprise organizations in all facets of industries are finding that employer of record gives a benefit and flexibility to be able to utilize our services and retain talent. Alrighty, let's jump into Lucky 7. How can companies choose the right employer of record? Now, I may be a little biased to this answer because I think we have a really good opportunity here. But it's really important that when you look at your next employer of record or choosing a partner, how to partner with an employer of record, you ask yourself a couple questions. 1, how long has this employer of record been in business? There's been a lot of pop-up employer of records who are really focused on technology, but really don't actually know how to do business in that given country. If global expansion was easy, everyone would do it. But it's not. And so you have to partner with an employer of record who really understands the rules and regulations, how to onboard and offboard and maintain employees in a given country. Second, scale is really important. The size of that employer of record. We talked about some of the benefits where we go to market, certain costs from an employer perspective. The larger employer of record can give you a lot more benefits, keeping your costs down to allow you to have more flexibility to find and retain talent. Another thing you want to ask yourself is, how are they actually operating? Where are their scales? Are they operating just out of one country? Do they have employees and talent in countries where you need? Do they have language capability? Do they have technology? Do they understand the cultures that they're supporting? That's really important. The term that we like to use is the word local. We like to be global, but local. And that's really important because it's not just servicing our customers, it's servicing the worksite employees and providing an employee experience that matches your expectation for your organization. So when partnering with an employer of record, make sure you ask those questions. How are they going to partner with you? How are they going to support your business? How can they help you scale? And how can they give you a great experience with your employees? All right, last but not least, Let's see what they got. Future of employer of record services. I can't give away all my secrets now. But the future is clear. Employer of record is here to stay. Companies are looking for flexibility in how they retain talent or find talent around the world. And an employer of record gives them that flexibility. The one thing I think is really important is that you're going to see small to mid-sized businesses become more competitive. Before employer of record, you saw where small businesses said, I can't expand. It doesn't make sense. I can't afford it. With employer of record today, they have the ability to do that in many countries, not just one. So it's here to stay. But what's really important is that how we evolve. Some of it's going to be through technology, some of it's going to be through localization, a lot of it's going to be through service. It's important that employer of records remember that it's not just about technology. We are working in a human environment. Human resources is the foundation of what we do. So service-enabled technology is the future of employer of record. And Atlas continues to evolve with that. We think about how we can not only give an experience to our clients, but how do we constantly improve the employee experience when working with our clients and within our platforms. We continue to evolve as businesses evolve and as employee relations evolved. We continue to think about how we are 5 to 10 years ahead. It's important that businesses think about that as well. The future of employer of record is here. It is the future, and it's the flexibility that's going to enable companies to do very well in the future. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I hope this has been helpful in answering some of the questions about the employer of record industry. If you have any further questions or are interested in how Atlas can simplify global expansion for your business, feel free to check out our website and give us a call. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you and have a wonderful day.